It's the old brake drum that was on the truck. Everything that holds the band on is broken, so we're going to go over to a rotor. This is the rotor we're putting on. Come off a Mercedes 300D. We're going to cut the center out, and we're going to make a new plate for it. We made this angle iron bracket. It's going to mount on both sides. I have the plates to box these in to hold it, to hold the caliper. Don't mind all the nuts, they're just there to hold it for now. I'm going to pick up some new hardware shortly. We took the rotor, machined out the center, made a new center on the plasma table, welded it in, ran it on the lathe, trued it up, everything's good. We're going to hook up a hose here that goes to a drift brake. And the drift brake has a lock on it for locking it. So we're just gonna use that as like an emergency brake or a safety brake. It's not gonna be a permanent locked brake, but all this stuff is busted up in here for the old drum brake. So I'd have to try to find a new housing, pull the transfer case apart, deal with that. I don't wanna mess with it. Figure the disc brake will work perfectly fine. 90% of my hay fields are pretty flat, and chances are someone will probably be in the truck anyways moving around. So just having it on there just in case. Let me get this thing fitted up and we'll show you the next thing we get working on. Alrighty, so I had to notch the bottom of the angle iron out to make sure I could clear. So I ended up notching it and I reinforced it. We notched the angle iron, dropped in and welded these bolts as the mounting point. Sorry, it's a little blurry when I get that close. And then it's a little fun to line this up, but right there, that just slides right on. And really didn't have a good way to put it on the side so that this would be up in the air to bleed. So it's actually at the highest point right now on the top of it. So it should still bleed out. It should be pretty good. So now all I got to do is drill and put some holes in there and bolt this in place. Well, just got back. Picked up 4 U-bolts. I got to put those down here. I think there's a spring in here. It's kind of like a shock assembly, shock absorber. The ones I had were pretty crappy, so I bought some good used ones, same place I got the winter cab from. So we cut the bolts on the bottom because they weren't worth saving, so I need to get some replacement ones for that. So I picked these up, and right now trying to exactly figure out what I want to get finished up with the caliper back there. And I cut all the excess stuff off the back of the truck. I couldn't have those bumpers back here because the dump body it would hit. I am going to keep the hoops so I can put some D-rings in. Gonna hook a pintle back up, figure out some way of making a hitch in the back to pull a couple wagons back. Everything else is pretty much cleaned up. I just got to finish removing the old brake lines, change them out, change the rubber hoses. Then the back of the truck is pretty much done except for paint, and then put the flatbed on. I've got to cut this off on all 4 of them. They look pretty horrible. Somebody welded something onto the top of it at one time instead of bolting it the way it was supposed to be, so it made it look kind of ugly. So back on the U-bolts. The company I went to was Overland Drive Shaft. They're actually making the drive shaft to connect there for me. I should have that hopefully next week, maybe somewhere around there. Same with the exhaust manifolds, so I can finish building those up. But the rest of the video is actually going to be of being at Overland Drive Shaft, and the guy's going to demonstrate how they make U-bolts. So hopefully you enjoy it. If you guys ever need anything of drive shafts, U-bolts made, give them a holler. They've got a bunch of new old stock. They basically amazed me. Any piece I needed to make this drive shaft work, I was basically building a mutt of a drive shaft, and they had everything to make it work. The U-bolts, they made them right in-house. I guess they can do up to like 60 inch or something. It's kind of amazing. So watch the video. It'll close out with that. And next video, when I get back, hopefully U-bolts will be installed. Gonna put the new drive shaft in, and probably hopefully have something figured out with the e-brake. I don't know if I'm gonna go with a drift brake handbrake, or I have another Willwood Master that I was thinking about building my own custom brackets and stuff and make my own e-brake. So we'll see how that plans out. All right, watch the rest of the video. Please like, comment, subscribe. Any comments you guys can give me helps me to keep moving forward, gives me some ideas I might not have thought about. All right, enjoy.
I've already selected the die that I'm going to use, 4.5-inch radius. It's a pretty old machine. It's been here since I started. It's probably 60 years old, if not more. All the instructions on how to set up the rod is right here in front of you. It's very common sense. More or less just going to parallel this with the edge of the machine, as it shows right here. Adjust roller so that rod just fits between the roller and the adapter on both sides. I'm just going to eyeball it. So I'm more or less just looking for the measurement between here and down here. That looks pretty parallel. I'll come to the other side. Nothing's ever perfect. The first bend is never perfect. And if I were to try to make it perfect, it would take so much more time. That's about right. The center of the rod with the piece. Use the rollers to help center it. Depending on who you had make the rod, you really want to measure their center mark because it's not always correct. Lock it in place. Send it home. There's always going to be a lot of tension in the metal itself, so you got to kind of keep readjusting as you go. That yoke with you? Rick, you want to help him out? Four 3/4 is where we want her to be. The die itself is never exact. It's always going to spring out about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. That's just the nature of
So you have a bunch of different sizes, so you can make pretty much any U-bolt anybody needs.
Yeah, yep. I mean, we got lengths all the way from 8 inches all the way up to, I think our longest length is 60 inches, which is more or less for like box trucks or if you're attaching a bed to a frame. So hardware's over here. It's all labeled. Just pick and choose whatever you're using. We're using 5/8 rod.